So third chapter began with Arjuna's question whether Arjuna should fight the war or should he renounce. Because the instructions in second chapter towards the end, where Krishna was talking about Sthita Prajna, it was not very clearly understood for what is the course of action for Arjuna. So in that situation, he wants to clarify again. Should I give up this fight and go meditate in the forest, or should I continue this fight? And then Krishna clarifies, for you, Karma Yoga is better because you are a Kshatriya. You better perform your duties and thereby achieve perfection. That is the right way for you. As a Kshatriya, your primary duty is to protect the people under you. And if suppose Karma Yoga is where one performs actions without any attachment. In case you cannot do that, in case you cannot do that, then you perform Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda means acting within the prescribed duties prescribed within the Vedas. Um, and because that involves one to connect with scriptures and pure devotees, thereby slowly one would elevate himself. So thereby he would come to Karma Yoga state, whereby he would be detached in his work while performing his work. Uh, and and Krishna would advise Arjuna to actually perform Karma Yoga rather than Jnana Yoga, because that is better for him. Because through Karma Yoga, one can set a very good example for the world. The world needs good examples. So that is the section we are going to study in this class today. So verse 21, we stopped at 20. This is a very famous verse. Verse 21. Yad yad acharati sreshta tad tad eva taro jana saya pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. Yad yad acharati sreshta. Sreshta means a respectable person, a leader, uh, one who is followed by others. Whatever actions acharati, yad acharati sreshta means whatever actions such a person performs, the leader of the society performs. It could be a king, it could be a local leader, or could be a manager. Whoever is a person who is one who is looked up for good example. Tat tad eva taro jana means common man would follow him. Sayat pramanam kurte lokastad anuvartate. And whatever standards he sets by his acts, the world would pursue. Is a very relevant verse, isn't it? Because if the leader is not good, everybody would follow him. For example, if you look at the India 50 years back, who were the leaders? Like say the freedom fighters were the leaders at the time, right? Like Mahatma Gandhi, Sarojini Naidu, so many great leaders who were primarily focused on their focus was independence in India. And when they were doing that, uh, besides their own primary goal of fighting for the freedom of India, they were also people of very good character, isn't it? So, for example, um, Mahatma Gandhi, who was called father of the nation, right? So he was very spiritually minded. He would always refer to Bhagavad Gita. He says, whenever my mind is disturbed, I turn to a page of Bhagavad Gita and I find from nowhere, from the despair of life, I just I find light in that situation. So that's how he describes. He always looked into Bhagavad Gita for uh, his direction in life. And besides that, he was exemplary in his character. The way he was always looking beyond his own personal interests. He was looking for the national interest. So like that, when the leaders were good, we see a breed of people who come out in that period of time, who were like Gandhians. They would very much follow the footsteps of Mahatma Gandhi, yeah, in terms of their behavior, culture, and actions, everything. So naturally, there is a very good example set in the society. The character of the society is determined by the culture of the leader. So it's very important to set a very good example in the society. Uh, Later on, in 1970s, for example, when Srila Prabhupada was there, uh, all of you might have heard about Beatles. Have you all heard about Beatles, the music composers, singers?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Very famous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Beatles, they're especially George Harrison, they're all from England. They were so famous all over the world that whatever the actions they do, people would just imitate in those days. And initially, they were promoting this hippie culture, where people, they don't care for the, society. They would, just take drugs and go high on that, and take no responsibility in life. And all over the world, these hippie societies were formed. You won't believe, in the New York and many other places within US, there are so many. In 60s and 70s was a complete disaster. All these people, the youngsters, the youth, would follow these these pop singers, and would destroy completely their own personal life. They get addicted to drugs, women, men, and they take no responsibility, no education, and they would light on the streets without anything, in the name of getting high by taking drugs and joining these pop shows. So when he came to George Harrison, when he came to US, almost like millions of people were attending, and it was called in the newspapers. It was called the Great Second Conquest. The first time was when Britain conquered US. That was the first one, a few centuries back, and but they got independence a few centuries ago. But then again, that is how, when George Harrison and the Beatles team came for the second time in 70s, so many people, Americans, were following, and practically uh, just trying to imitate them. When he came, like millions of people were attending his programs. Uh, and then he saw these people in these hippie clothes, and he realized that this was because of the way we were behaving, and these people were behaving the same way. Later on, he was attracted to Srila Prabhupada, who was the founder of ISKCON, George Harrison, and he became a very good Krishna devotee. He was chanting, and then he completely changed himself, completely surrendered himself to Krishna Bhagavad Gita teachings, and then he sang many wonderful songs on Krishna. Oh My Sweet Lord was so famous at that time in 70s. It was breaking all records all over the world. And that was his praise for Lord Krishna. Uh, that was again, the impact was that, because now he's such a famous person, when he was becoming a regular daily chanter, and singing these songs and behaving like a Vaishnava, all over the world, so many people have joined ISKCON, because they just imitate what these popular people do. And that's how, again, so many people turn to spirituality and Krishna consciousness. If you look at today, right, in today's culture, who are the people? most people follow, either movie actors or sports stars. That's how the culture is, and accordingly the character of the society is formed, and everybody is primarily interested in their own self. There are no good examples, or people who are in very rich, like the richest in the society, but often they are the most miserable people, and because people follow them, their example, they would also end up being like that. Um, so that's what Krishna is teaching here. A great man is being followed by common man. So one should set very good standards. For example, all of us, parents, or children, uh, or uncles for youngsters. So they look up to us, especially our own children. Our actions in the home, they determine, they form their character in their formative years. So it's very important. A mother or a father is a natural teacher for the children. So their actions are very important in forming the character of the children. So it should be very carefully dealt by all of us.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Madhuri.
so I would like to add to something you said about the hippie culture, where people were getting high on drugs, and it has been proved that whatever high that you get on drugs like LSD and many of the drugs which are called uppers, the same high you get with meditation, yoga, and chanting and raising your kundalini, the same high you can get with that without with all the positive side effects. But the thing is that the path to this thing, it takes effort, and drugs are easily accessible, right? You just go take the drug and you get a high. But there are so many side effects of that, like people are like destroying their lives with that. So if you make young people understand that you can get the same high if you are looking for the high, even though it is a skewed way of getting them into the, this holy world, but youngsters can be explained and they can be taught that this is what we can achieve with this sadhana and bhakti.
That's true. Actually, when Srila Prabhupada came, uh, the first students of Srila Prabhupada were the hippies, and these were hippies in the in New York State, uh, and they were all addicted to drugs. And Srila Prabhupada would go and chant the holy name, Hare Krishna mantra, in the parks, and all these people would surround him because of that powerful vibration. They were so intensely attracted to him, and over a period of time, all of these people left all their bad habits, uh, you know, and they were all hearing Bhagavad Gita. They at least completely trusted this person is there for our good. He has no selfish motivation. He just wants to serve us. And why Srila Prabhupada came? He came on the order of his spiritual master, who asked him to spread the message of Gita in the West. So he came, and he was in 70s. He was in a failing health. He has no money, but because on the order of his guru, he came here. Krishna, reciprocated like anything, and all these people were, completely converted, being from being hippies who are going high on drugs to going high on, the wisdom of Gita and chanting, meditation. Chanting is the ultimate meditation for this age. When we chant with attention and with focus on the name of the Krishna, you get much far higher. Actually, that is at a spiritual level. The high that we get by taking drugs, one gets is at the material level. So it's not really satisfying. uh, but the one that you get with the steady practice of chanting over a period of time, that is much far higher because it's a spiritual experience. Hmm? And also, like Moses was mentioning, one can also raise his consciousness through other yoga processes, like raising the Kundalini in Ashtanga yoga. Those are all methods. Again, those are all mechanical. The one that we try to do, chanting Mahamantra, that is that takes the help of Krishna, Lord Krishna himself directly. So it is far more effective. And that is the reason, even though there are so many people who have gone to West before Prabhupada, like Swami Vivekananda, Chinmayananda, and who else? There are a lot of even,
Mahesh Yogi, he was supposed to be Mahesh Yogi.
Maharshi Mahesh Yogi. So many people went before that, but if you look at the followers, nobody has really connected to Gita and committed to teaching Gita like the followers of Srila Prabhupada. If you look at now also in the West, the temples of ISKCON are far more vibrant. Even though generally these movements, the other movements, when the leader leaves the world, leaves the world, the movements go down. There won't be any momentum in the movements. But Srila Prabhupada, when he left, there were about 108 temples. Now at this point, there are about almost 1,000 or more temples already, and there are more farm communities and schools and restaurants by the ISKCON devotees. So that's the difference. The movement only goes up and up, because it is based on true spiritual principles, and the effect is there. As long as one follows the process correctly, one can see the effect in their own life. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing that point. न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यं त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन नानावाप्तम् अवाप्तव्यं वर्त एव च कर्मणि. Can anyone read the translation for me? Can anyone? Yeah. I'm sorry,
O son of Partha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties.
Yeah. So Krishna here is talking about himself, because Krishna is beyond this world. He is the source of all the existence and creation. So he's saying there is no work prescribed for him, because the work is prescribed within this world for the purification of the living entities. Lord Krishna does not come by force like us. We all come by force. Means our karma dictates our appearance in this world. But he comes out of his own accord, out of his love for us. When he comes to this world, it's called incarnation. He comes out of, he also speaks about that. So whenever there is decline in religion, to re-establish, dharma samsthapanardham sambhavam yuga yuga. So he keeps coming every age for re-establishing dharma and protecting, the pious. Like that, he mentions that. So he has there is nothing that is prescribed for him as his duty. Nor am I in want of anything, because we are all here for fulfilling our desires, but Krishna is not like that. Nor have I need to obtain anything, because everything he is source of him. Everything comes from him. Everything in existence comes from him. There is nothing that he needs to obtain. But still, to set a good example, as he described in the previous verse, he is still engaged in prescribed duties. For example, when he was leading the grihastha life as a married man, he was taking care of all the duties of a father or a husband. So he was engaged um, just like a householder. So when he was as a king. Like that, he was always engaged in his duties because one should set a good example for others. Yeah. So this is a very Tameshwaram Paramam Maheshwaram. Very nice verse. Let's see the translation. The Supreme Lord is the controller of all the other controllers, and he is the greatest of all divine, diverse planetary leaders. Everyone is under his control. All entities are delegated with particular power only by the Supreme Lord. They are not supreme themselves. He is also worshipable by all demigods like Indra, Varuna, Vayu, and is the supreme director of all directors. Therefore, he is transcendental to all kinds of material leaders and controllers and is worshipped by all. There is no one greater than him, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. He does not possess a bodily form like that of ordinary living entity. Our body is made of Panchamahabhuta, but Krishna's body is not a material body like us. When he comes to this world, he comes in his original form. It may appear like our body, but it is not. It is transcendental. It is beyond material. It's not formed of material elements like earth, water, air, ether, fire. These are the elements of our body. But his body is not like that. It's spiritual body. There is no difference between his body and his soul. For us, soul is spiritual, body is material. For him, it is both the same. It is spiritual. He is absolute. All his senses are transcendental. Any one of his senses can perform the actions of any other sense. This is very interesting. So Krishna can perform. So we perform a particular duty with a particular sense. For example, we see with our eyes. We touch with our hands. Um, we smell with our nose. So each sense is specifically designated for a particular duty. But Krishna is transcendental, beyond material. So his senses are all perfect. So, for example, when we offer bhoga to the Lord, how he honors that? Just by his glance he honors. That's what is described in the scriptures. One may wonder, oh, we offer. How do we know Krishna has accepted the offering? Because he is all powerful. His senses, each of the senses can perform the duty of every other sense by logic. And so, by his eyes, when you offer with love, by his eyes, he glances the food and he accepts it. So that's how we understand. Okay. So I think some of you started offering bhoga to the Lord. This is the reasoning on how Lord accepts, because his body is trans-sensual, beyond material senses. So each of them are um, omnipotent, and he can perform any actions with any sense. So by his glance, he accepts the offerings of the devotees. So his potencies are multifarious, and thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. Because that's how in the scriptures it is described. Lord glances the material nature, and material nature immediately starts manifesting, the various living entities within the existence. How it is explained, just like suppose there are visitors come to home, okay, husband just glances the wife, and wife understands, okay, I need to bring something and offer them, right? So similarly, Lord is the original husband or the original father of this existence. Just by his glance on the material nature is like the mother earth, or mother nature, mother. So that is the female potency of the Lord. So when he, just by his glance, things get done, right? The whole existence is created. That's how it is described in the scriptures. So any questions on this? This is a very transcendental description of the Lord. Any questions on this before we move forward? Is so far we haven't discussed such kinds of such kind of concepts. If everything is clear, good. Um, yeah. So even when Krishna comes, he performs his duties so that he sets good examples for others. Since everything is in opulence, full opulence in the personality of Godhead, and his existing in full truth, there is no duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to perform. One who must receive the results of work has some designated duty, but one who has nothing to achieve within the three planetary systems certainly has no duty. And yet, Lord Krishna is engaged on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as the leader of the Kshatriyas because Kshatriyas are duty bound to give protection to the distressed. Although he is above all the regulations of the revealed scriptures, he does not do anything that violates the revealed scriptures. He always tries to follow the revealed scriptures. And sometimes people question some of the pastimes of the Lord. For example, um, how is that Lord Krishna was stealing the butter, hmm? Butter from the homes of the gopis, or how does he perform Rasa Leela? So these are very special pastimes of the Lord. One needs to follow the instructions but should not imitate Lord's actions. For example, Lord has lifted Govardhan Hill. Can any of us lift? No, we cannot lift. So we cannot imitate the actions of the great people. We have to follow the instructions of them. And when he performs these pastimes, there are reasons that we may not understand in our consciousness. For example, when he was stealing the butter, it was absolutely the desire of these gopis that Lord come to their home and eat the butter they made. That was the most possessive desire of all these gopis. And because they're all actually, who are they? All these gopis were actually great devotees in their past life, and they were given the chance to perform, be participant in these pastimes when Lord comes to this world. It's like apprenticeship before going into the spiritual world. When Lord comes to this existence, material existence, um, some of the devotees before they actually become part of the Vaikuntha, Goloka spiritual planets, they were given a chance to actually play the role of an associate within the material existence. And Lord comes to various planetary systems at various times, and all these, just like when you join job, first few months you would be in the trainee time, right? So that you learn how to deal with the world better. Similarly, when Lord comes to material existence, in various places, Earth is one place, but there are thousands of other places where Lord keeps going time and again. So all these people who are eligible, who had perfected their life, but are not yet there in the being part of the spiritual planet. It depends. Sometimes people directly go there, but sometimes people come here and be participant in the spiritual, in the pastimes of the Lord. So all these gopis were like that. They were actually what? They were all part of, they were all, many of them were forest dwelling um, um, rishis during Lord Ram's pastimes. When they saw, when they saw um, Lord Rama's love towards Mother Sita, they were all attracted to such loving pastime with the Lord. Do we, so they wanted to experience that. So at that time, Lord Rama told them, in this lifetime, I will be, I'm going to have only a single wife. But in my future life, I will come in another incarnation. At that time, all of you would become participant in my pastimes. So all these great rishis who already perfected their life, before even entering the spiritual planet, by their own desire to experience the pastime of the Lord within the material world, they all come as associates like gopis and gopas, within Lord's pastimes when Lord came as Lord Krishna. So they would they would perform all these pastimes, but they were all actually great rishis in their past life. They are not ordinary people. Those pastimes are not mundane love between them. It is actually transcendental. All these pastimes are transcendental, and Lord steals butter out of out of his love for them. And all these mothers would come and complain with Yashoda, but still actually they would only wish that Lord come again and again and perform these stealing pastimes. So those are all transcendental. If we look with mundane eye, they all appear to be, oh, why would Lord do such things? They're all, not good examples for the society. Lord has done certain actions out of Lord wouldn't mind what the society feels when, especially these very esoteric, deep, loving pastimes. These are extraordinary pastimes. So one has to understand. In so that's why understanding the scriptures from bona fide sources is so important. If we try to hear from any random people or in the movies, they misrepresent all these pastimes sometimes. So we should hear from authentic sources, authentic acharyas, right? So then we'll understand the real true purpose behind them. Hmm? Any questions on that? Okay. यदि हि अहं नवत्येयं जातु कर्माणि अतान्द्रिता मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वसः. Yeah. Can anyone read? Archana Mataji?
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji. For if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path.
Yeah. So if Lord himself doesn't perform his duties, naturally nobody really cares to follow the right path. So that's why in today's society, especially at this current moment, we see the society is so divided because the highest leader of the society, the president or whoever it is, they're not, acting appropriately. Right? So the whole society is in America, especially, they are so divided now. So it's very important because all men would follow, means all men or women, everyone basically. If the leader doesn't follow his prescribed duties. Yeah, so although such rules and regulations are for the conditioned souls and not Lord Krishna, because he descended to establish the principles of religion, he followed the prescribed duties. Otherwise, common men would follow in his footsteps because he is the greatest authority. He is the greatest authority. So common men would follow. They would quote the example of Lord Krishna and follow. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that Lord Krishna was performing all the religious duties at home and out of home as required of a householder. So, so one time Narada Muni visits Lord Krishna in Dwaraka, where Lord was, leading the pastimes of the Grihastha, and he had, 18,000 wives at the time. Lord Krishna. This is true pastime. So when Narada would visit different homes, and in each home, sometimes Lord would be performing morning ablutions. In another home, he would, take care of the kids. In another home, he would, be talking to his wife. So in every home he goes, Lord is there with that particular wife, you know, just like a householder in performing the pastimes, right, of a householder, doing the duties of a householder. So he was really surprised that Lord is just engaged like a regular householder, uh, and because Lord is all powerful, he's simultaneously present in every home. and was performing those duties. Utsideyur imeloka nakuryam karma chedaham sankar sankarasya cha kartasyam upahanyam imah praja. Yeah, can Arjun Prabhu read? Arjun Prabhu?
I can read, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings.
Yeah, so Lord Krishna is saying, if I don't perform, everything would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living entities. That's the result of a bad leader. Yeah. So Varna Shankara is the word unwanted population. Varna Shankara is the unwanted population which disturbs the peace of the general society. In order to check this social disturbance, there are prescribed rules and regulations by which the population can become peaceful and organized for spiritual progress in life. Right. So this is what was followed in the Vedic society. There is varnas and ashramas. Everybody would follow their specific varna and ashrama, the prescribed duties within the varna ashrama. That is literally, I mean, is non-existent right now. So what we try to follow is called Daivi Varnashram. Meaning, our duties are not really, according to the Vedic principles we work in a software job or whatever, right? But we make God as the center of life. We offer Bhoga and we chant mantra, we study Gita. This is Daivi Varnashram, means externally we may not be following Varna and ashramas, strictly because society itself is not practicing that overall, right? So if the society support is not there, those are not practical to perform. But one can center around God, his life, thereby achieve even better benefit than actually truly following Varnashrama. I mean, within ISKCON there are already certain, you know, offshoots of certain areas where devotees are coming together and trying to follow varnashrama by taking you know, taking care of some land and protecting cows and leading a very simple life. There are some ashramas like that in Hyderabad, even in US also there is one in West Virginia. It's called New Vrindavan. And there are many in Germany also. There is one wonderful Varnashrama society. Just to set good examples, how to lead a very simple and happy life centered around God. But most people don't get the chance to follow like that. Like we are also working in different metropolitan cities, but still we can follow basic Daivi Varnashrama where we center our life around God. In the morning we rise and get ready and take bath and then chant few mantras of the Lord, and then we offer bhoga to Lord, and we perform some aarti to the Lord, deity of the Lord. In the evening again we come back, again remember Lord, and do some worship, and then read some something from the scriptures, the teachings of Lord, or Vedic scriptures. So these are the ways one can still be while living in the current modern society still be God conscious and fully spiritual. Here, Lord is mentioned. We should note carefully that although we have to follow in the footsteps of the Lord, we still have to remember that we cannot imitate Him. Following and imitating are not on the same level. We cannot imitate the Lord by lifting Govardhana hill, as the Lord did in His childhood. It is impossible for any human being. We have to follow His instructions. But we may not imitate Him at any time. One should simply follow the instruction of the Lord, and He is the empowered servants, acharyas. Their instructions are all good for us, and any intelligent person who will perform them as instructed. However, one should guard against trying to imitate their actions. One should not try to drink the ocean of poison in imitation of Lord Shiva. Right? Uh, some of the followers of Lord Shiva in certain parts in what is it? In certain parts in India, um, uh, they try to imitate Lord Shiva by taking bhang. They take this intoxicant to uh, in the name of imitating Lord Shiva, but they cannot drink the poison that drank by Lord Shiva. Right? One should not imitate. Rather, one should follow the instructions that they give, or the true followers give. Yeah. Can anybody read for me? Jyoti Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, please read. Let me read there.
Yeah.
Saktah karmani avidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryat vidvams tatha saktas chikirsho lokasangraham.
As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. Sorry, leading people on the right path.
Yeah. So this is same on the same line. So Krishna is re-emphasizing the same point and giving more and more details on how to perform action as a leader. Right? So as the ignorant perform their duty with attachment to results, hmm, people who are ignorant of the right way of performing action in this existence, they would be performing with attachment. They are fruity minded. They want results. That's their focus. I mean, we all want results. It doesn't, but attachment means your your mind is just focused on results, nothing else, not the duty itself. A detached person is more focused on the duty itself, on rightly performing the duty. But an attached person is always focused on the fruits. That is the problem. So the learned may similarly act, means the same actions are performed by even a very learned person, but without attachment. He understands results are not in my hand. But what is in my hand is my action, right? If I perform the action appropriately, with sincerely, uh, with all my best effort, uh, that would naturally result. The byproduct is result, right? We don't focus on the result. It's a byproduct, natural byproduct. And if sometimes it doesn't come in your favor, understand that that's what is destined to come. Do not be too attached to the fruit and become disappointed. People would be shifting from you know, raga and dvesha, means attachment. If things are going in their favor, they become very much attached, and when things are going against them, they become frustrated. Right? So we should not be swinging between those feelings. We should just focus on the duty and perform without attachment to the results. And if a leader follows such a principle, naturally everybody feels a lot more confidence, lot more uh, um, stress free, right? If we understand, like for example, we all lived at our homes. We understand our father, whatever actions they perform, they are for our own good. When we, there is a natural satisfaction. When we are disappointed, also they would give us kind of encouragement, support. So that's all possible because the leader was uh, seeing things. We may be attached, but if the father consoles us, okay, don't worry about this time, next time you can uh, put your best footing and get the result. We feel satisfied. So like that in the society, if there are some exemplary characters like that, naturally everybody will be motivated, inspired to perform action with the right mindset, without being distressed or disappointed uh, much, and in the process actually lose uh, focus on the work. For example, in the corporate world, right? Uh, I don't think most managers are, you know, have such principles. They're always attached to the results. If manager is attached to the results, the employee gets stressed out because you know very well the manager is only attached to the results. In spite of that, if the leader owns the responsibility and encourages the employee to give their best, employee would be very happy to give their best if their manager was very inspiring. And if sometimes the employee fails, if the manager, the leader, he does not blame the employee. Instead, try to see what can be improved so that the same mistake doesn't happen. If that is the right mind, if that is the mindset of the leaders, how stress free the corporate life would be for most of the people. uh, we most of us feel stressed because of bad leaders uh, that we have. You can all relate to it, right? Yeah, so that's why the main problem in the society in today's world is uh, there is more focus on just the physical work. uh, there is no training to the mind, isn't it? Nobody is trained on how to uh, what's the right behavior of a manager. That's not the focus. When a person becomes manager, he's just, he's like a designated tool to produce certain results. That's it. There is nothing more. That's how the corporate machinery works. They treat these people, everybody, every SVP, every VP, or whoever the top leaders, as producers of certain results. That's how. That's the perception with which they see. And naturally, those people would pass the same consciousness to the lower level, and the at the end, the most the lowest level, the lowest level of workers, the engineers and all, they will be at the highest stress because the stress gets multiplied at each level, and that finally comes on the, because that's where the work gets done. All these people only just have some ideas on what needs to be done, but so that's why the society is uh, it's not a very peaceful existence because there are no good leaders in the society in today's world. If, on the other hand, if suppose everybody learns, studies this Bhagavad Gita from their young, in their school age, for example, right? These principles would change their entire perception, right? If any of you were to become, say, leaders, you wouldn't be attached to the results, and so naturally, you would not pass the stress to the employees, and naturally they produce better results, and everything would be solved in a much better way, right? So that's why this kind of education is very important. You don't believe how much better people's lives would be if this education was given at a very young age, you know, with the right understanding. Again, the teacher should be very good to actually decipher these principles and you know share with the children and completely um, mark these lessons in their mind, right? Strongly impress these teachings in the young minds of the society. Then imagine how good the society would be, right? First thing is they are going to liberate themselves because they would perform work without any attachment to the results. Therefore, they won't incur any sinful karma, and they would liberate themselves, and also they would liberate all those followers who would follow them, right? So such a win-win situation for everyone. On the other hand, if you have a people who are just focused on uh, pushing their career goals, who often these are the people who achieve high career success. They somehow please their leads and somehow get into position. There is a neck throat competition to become a leader in current society, right? By showing results, by stressing themselves, they do all kinds of things and to get ahead in the corporate ladder. All to but what? Ultimately there is nothing they will achieve. All that they achieve will be left in this world, and they'll again going to come back. So do not be impressed by these super fast career trackers, or that's super rich people, or great people in the corporate world. They are far more stressed and far more less peaceful than most of the people like us, right? So they are not at all good examples for us. Rather, you lead a simple life centered around God, you are going to get results much better than for the ultimate. It's like long term, uh, in terms of your existence within the material world. That's far more superior compared to achieving some temporary success within this lifetime in this material world in a particular corporate career. That I'm not saying you should be you should be careless at your work, or that's all good. You do your work sincerely. Don't play politics at work. They're not going to be good for your spiritual life. uh, I mean, none of you would play, I know, because you're all such sincere souls. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. um, you know and if somebody is playing, also don't take revenge. Just leave it for them, because we get what we deserve to at that point in time. It doesn't mean that you don't fight and you don't complain at all. If you're going through certain trouble, you should take necessary action, but don't get too much bogged down by this culture. That's the nature of this material world. There will be people who are attached to results, and they would perform actions which you cannot understand. um, okay, so but don't take it like too much. Material life is a small part of our life. It should not. Spiritual life should be the primary life in our existence. If you don't get promotion, or if you don't, there is nothing to really stress about in life. Those are very small things. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say here.
Prabhu, I have one question.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, Prabhu, question is more on the translation. So now, in the translation, Prabhupada says that uh, as ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act but without attachment for sake of leading the people to the right path. Now, if ignorant works on some toxic place like meat factory, beer factory, or some coffee place or something, now how would the learn would I think learn won't do that, but because it's a similar act. But so how one can really take this verse or take the translation in a right spirit?
Oh, so generally, if somebody is learned about the those particular acts that you described, right, like meat factory and all, generally they wouldn't go. They would stop once they learn about the sinful reactions of working in such industry. They would just give up. And no, so when you say similarly act, meaning, for example, you may be working as a software engineer, and another person who is also attached to the results also may be working in a software company,
Mm-hmm.
but your mindset is so different.
Mm.
That's how it is. And there are certain no act kind of areas, for example, meat industry, or sex worker industry. Those are areas where, or um, or even these wine shops and all.
Mm-hmm.
Person who is spiritually minded, if by mistake he was working in that industry before,
Mm-hmm.
they would give up, because
Yes.
that's not going to be helpful at all. It's going to be
Right.
binding them, right? Once they
Right.
learn that, they will give up. For example, we have our Daniel Prabhu, right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
He was American body. He was working in certain shops where they were selling meat.
Yeah. McDonald. He was like putting burgers and those
Correct.
burgers. Yes.
Now he gave up that completely, right?
Yes.
Working in a sattvic environment,
Yes. True, bro.
so like that.
Yeah.
So
Thank
these
you.
areas will not touch. There are no areas which
Absolutely. Okay.
spiritually minded understands, and they wouldn't go. But
Yeah.
when they work in a, other, ours are all gray areas, right? Software
Yeah.
industry,
Yes. Ours are great. Yeah.
truly spiritually engagements, nor material, gross material. It's like a gray zone. And in
Yeah.
those areas, you work with right mindset. That's all you can do. What can you? That's the only thing you know to do. So you cannot change your profession. Mm.
Mm. Yes. Yes. Yes, bro. Thank you very much for explaining.
Prabhuji, just extending that example a little bit further. I mean, this is a hypothetical situation, but I just wanted to ask, like, if you're in a situation where, maybe you're working in a place like that, maybe where, you're processing meat or something like that, and maybe you're forced to do it because, your family is dependent on you, and maybe you don't have any other job or something like that, then what is the correct karma there? Like, is your duty to still do that job because you have to take care of your family, or is the greater duty to not do that and try to find some other means, because that is not the right kind of um,
I mean,
job to do.
transition plan. You should have a transition plan in his mind. I mean, we cannot suddenly stop because that's what he's dependent on. For example, I'll give the story from our scriptures itself. When Valmiki Muni, in his previous life, he was a hunter. He was feeding his family with, the money that he comes by hunting birds and animals in the forest, and he would sell that and get some money, or he would directly consume those meat products. That's what he was. So when he meets Narada Muni, he was given the alternate choice of leading a spiritual life and chanting the name of Lord in the reverse order, Mara Mara, and thereby purifying himself. And he said, how do I feed my family? He said, you don't worry, it will be taken care. And that he had that faith in his guru, Valmiki. So he just followed his instruction of Narada Muni, and he did that, and everybody in the village, they saw this hunter turned to be a great devotee suddenly, and they were giving more, you know they were taking care of this family by bringing the grains, milk, and all the vegetables every day, so that this family would be sustained. And he was really surprised that he was getting far more things than he would have gotten by his own profession. And slowly becomes a saint, and then he writes the entire Ramayana. And there are many such stories. Not only he, there was a story in the recent past times of Jagai Madai, 500 years back. They were, dacoits and you know drug addicts, but they also turned to be great devotees of Lord Krishna after meeting Lord Chaitanya. So they were all taken care. So when one has that strong faith, he would be given sufficient direction. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, later on we'll read, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. If you dedicate your life to me, I'm going to take care of you 100%, no doubt about it. Arjuna, go and boldly declare that my devotee will never perish. And in this way, Krishna assures and reassures many times. And he tells Arjuna, you go and declare, because sometimes I may declare and I may not follow my instructions. But you, as my follower, if you declare as a devotee, everybody will really understand and accept that fact. So he tells Arjuna, go and declare, my devotee will never perish. So who can assure such a thing in this world for us, right? Nobody can assure such kind of nobody can give such an assurance in this world, but Lord Krishna gives that. So if one has enough faith in Lord, he will be definitely taken care. So one can think of a transition plan. He cannot, like for example, I was telling about Daniel Prabhu. He was an American body. He was working in a certain industry where he was dealing with meat. But later on, he connected, developed his faith in Krishna, and now he completely gave up, and he was far more happier. He found alternate job, and he was actually staying in temple now because he was so duty minded, and surprisingly he gives like all his earnings to temple. He earns whatever he earns. He is like totally excited about Krishna consciousness. And again, he's a not even Indian body, American body, born to American, raised by American parents, raised in the society and culture of America. From the beginning, educated in the Western. But Krishna consciousness is beyond body, right? These principles are all eternal. And so he took it up and he was very happy as a devotee now.
That makes sense. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Let's read this one last verse for today. Na buddhi vedam janaye, na buddhi vedam janaye, ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidvan yuktah samacharan. Ashwin Prabhu,
Yes, Prabhuji.
please read this.
So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness.
So, like Mataji was asking, we should not, suppose somebody is working in meat industry, we should not tell him you should immediately stop, right? So that's what this instruction is. The first line is, so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work, because this kind of change has to be done gradually. If even if you all learn Gita, and tomorrow you see at your office people who are working in a very attached fashion, you should not disturb them and disturb them in their mind. Hey, what are you doing? This is all temporary thing. Don't be attached to your work. If you get promotion or not, it doesn't really matter. If we do not disturb attached people right off, we should show, in that case we should show good example When we when we set a good example, they will be inspired by it. You behave, you act in at your office or at your home or in your family circle in a way that you inspire uh, them to in the right spirit of devotion in the way you work. So that way, um, they will be inspired by your character and they change by that inspiration. We should not force people. Hey, I studied Bhagavad Gita. You should not be attached like that when you work. You should not say like that. Not by your words. You should inspire them by your actions. That's what this whole verse means. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should be engaged. We should help them engage in various spiritual activities. For example, to your colleagues, instead of preaching them or giving the wisdom of Gita in words and arguing them about how they are right or wrong in their decisions based on Bhagavad Gita, you can set a good example by giving them, hey, I brought this prasadam from temple. I read this book. You can read this book like a gift, like a nice gift to them. Or you can invite them for a festival. Hey, tomorrow is Janmashtami. You want to visit the temple? There is going to be a nice celebration. So like that, slowly you can improve their, bring them to a spiritual life. Slowly, it should be gradual development. We should not force anybody. We should not, in the name of knowing some wisdom like Gita, we should not look down at people and we should not condemn people. We should not discourage people. We should not find faults with them. Because look at ourselves, right? We were all in that state before. We came to this knowledge by the, uh, you know, by the help of somebody who has volunteered their time. So we should be in the same right spirit, in that spirit uh, when we deal with people outside who are acting ignorantly. We should not condemn them. We should rather encourage them, inspire them by our own actions. Yeah. Yeah. So here I'll just read this one line. Therefore, a realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities or understanding, but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to service of Krishna. So like that, we can inspire slowly and gradually, right? The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that the ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act and how to behave. It's by example, not by words. Okay. Any questions so far?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, I have a question. So here it talks about ignorant people, but what if they are doing adharma? Then what is your responsibility to, is it still your responsibility to not say anything, or can you then say that, okay, what you're doing is not correct?
Yes, definitely tell them. But when is the time when we can tell a person? That is something we should have to understand, right? The first it goes in series of steps, right? First, that person has to develop trust in us. Otherwise, whatever you say is just thrown in dirt. Nobody will acknowledge your instructions. So if that person has enough trust in you, then you can then he understands that whatever you're sharing is for their good, right? So you have to win their trust, and that after that, so when we are acting as a good example, what happens with your colleagues, or they develop trust. I have some of my colleagues who would, in the past, even now, whenever they're in distress, they would just call me just to talk for some time, right? My director himself, when he lost his brother and mother in short span of time. He would spend with me hours and hours on phone just to uh, get a spiritual perspective on his loss in this COVID period only. Just like few months back, he lost his mother and his brother. Uh, the reason is he turned to me is because he has the trust. I may share something that would help him. So when the other person trusts, you can share. You cannot condemn. There is no way you can condemn without um, having the trust between the two of you. Because people are not open to listening to you when there is no trust. Once trust is there, initially, it can be very, in a positive way you can instruct. But if they are not changing their ways and it's not going to be good for them, then you can be like a serious teacher. For example, um, we all experience it, at our home. Uh, we know we trust our parents, our father and mother, and sometimes they'll be teaching us with nice words, good words, and but if you don't listen, sometimes they have to be a little more serious and you know uh, make us learn the lesson right the right way. So that's how it works. Basically, what I'm trying to say is we need to develop trust before we accept our parents because we have trust, even though sometimes their instructions are not very palatable or not very uh, not appear do not appear to be very friendly to us or to our liking because we have trust. So similarly, when that person has trust in you, then you are ready to instruct them. Otherwise, you can take that person to a person, neutral person, who is a genuine authority, um, who is a well-wisher of both, and resolve the issue, but not directly deal with them, right? Unless you have that person really trusts you, you should not instruct them, even though they are acting in a dharmic ways.
Makes sense. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody? All good. Thank you. So I hope you're all chanting at home. That's very important. And also, if any of you want to talk to me for anything, always feel free to, we are not just restricted to this class. You can message me on my WhatsApp. Some of you already are doing, but do not. I'm just telling everyone, but very few of you are doing that. Just want to inform that anytime you wanted to share something or talk something, always feel free to just message me, and I will respond at my own time when I have time, right? But feel free to do that, okay? Because um, as we learn Bhagavad Gita and apply these teachings to our life, there will be a lot of practical questions because not everything is appears to be practical, and not everything appears to be straightforward as given in the teaching. Sometimes we misunderstand, and we might think this instruction is wrong in Bhagavad Gita, or it doesn't really apply to me like that. So it should be very. It is very important and imperative that we take some inputs from you know from people who might know a little more about that. So always feel free to message me or ping me. Okay, never feel that I'm bothering or I'm troubling. Never feel like that. Always feel the I'm I'll be there whenever you need me. Okay, may not be immediately, but whenever I find my time, we can discuss. So about that. Okay, anything else?
I had a question, Prabhuji, about chanting.
Yeah.
So for chanting, can you keep different strands of beads at different places? Like, can I keep one strand in the car and another strand at my home and one in my office instead of carrying the same thing everywhere?
Yeah, you can. You can. So that changes when you become initiated. Um, I will tell about initiation later, but yeah, at this point you can have you can chant on different beats. That's fine. When one takes diksha, this is at a next level. That time one is given a specific tulsi mala by the spiritual master, the guru. When one becomes initiated, at that time he has to use that when he is chanting as far as possible. Not every time, but as far as possible. But right now, you're all very new, so you can chant on the beats that you have, and these are all most likely neem beats that you get in the temple in the counter. Neem beats don't take any offense. You can chant anytime on any beats. Yes.
Prabhu, but is it okay to chant while driving?
No,
Yeah.
it's not ideal to, because the whole point of chanting is
Mhm.
when you are chanting, what exactly is happening is Krishna is listening to you. Okay?
Yeah.
Like in a phone conversation with someone. Suppose I am in a conversation with Nitin Prabhu.
Mhm.
I should not be with my other hand do type some email.
Yeah.
That is very distracting for the other person. He doesn't really. That means that I'm not really concerned about you, right? That's what we are trying to convey by our actions.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, thanks for bringing the point.
Yes,
When
sir.
you are chanting, ideally you should be chanting, because when you're chanting, remember that Krishna has opened his ears to listen to you. That's how you should have a picture in your. So you would chant with full attention before you even hear. Your Paramatma hears. So it's very important to hear attentively, and that's when the real results come. In fact, chanting while driving or but you can chant without the beats just like that anytime. Like for example, you're driving with your mouth, you can just chant. That is fine. That is different. I'm talking about the focused time with Krishna with the beats. When you do that, that's you should be exclusively doing that. But while cooking, you want to chant the name of Krishna, or while anywhere while working in the home, or before uh, starting your work, or while working you want to chant the name. Those are all perfectly all right. You can chant while doing those works. That is different. That is remembering Krishna. That's called smarana. That's not chanting. Okay, that's different. So when you chant, you should do exclusively by hearing that name. That's when you make the 99% of your advancement. So it should be done with a lot of care.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, I have a question.
Yes, Prabhu.
So I have two questions. One is, say I'm chanting I reserve, say I want to chant 15 minutes every day or so, right?
Yeah.
And I'm chanting in that time. How is the speed of chanting important? Is like if I'm going very slow based on my enjoyment versus I want to go very fast because I want to chant like 1,000 times. Is there some kind of prescription?
Yeah. So the prescription is that the minimum need is that we should be distinctly able to hear what we speak. When you speak too fast, for example, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If that speed is making you to not distinctly hear what you are speaking, you should reduce the speed. If you are too slow in your chanting, what happens is mind takes over and takes you to somewhere else. You could be thinking about your work or food or whatever, right? So slow chanting has the too slow chanting has the negative effect of distracting your mind. Too fast chanting will make you not hear the names appropriately. So you should speak at a medium pace where you can hear and absorb yourself while chanting. But again, absorption comes much later because we are still not purified. Uh, Distraction is the quite often feature of our chanting. Even after 15 years, I'm still struggling to focus my mind because it takes time. It is a gradual process. You know, it's um, but with practice, Krishna says it. Um, abhyasa yoga yuktena means with practice, you will become perfect. So
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
in the beginning, we should be more careful because if we set wrong habits in the beginning, that becomes our second nature when we chant. So in the beginning, whatever habits we form, those are going to be long lasting. Okay.
Yeah, I have a second question. The question is chanting with beats and without beats. Let's say I'm chanting the same way with focused mind, but without beats,
Mm.
versus the same thing but with beats. So, what is the difference, and why should we? Is it a difference even?
Right. Um, Especially after initiation, you would need beats, but before that, you can chant without beats. But it is very difficult to keep track of your mind when you chant without beats. The reason is when you chant with beats, there is sensory perception because you are moving your beat with your hand, right? So that's keeping your mind focused on chanting. Keeping your, but your fingers are focused on the chanting, right? So that's sensory engagement in the chanting process. That keeps your mind, to not run away too far, and also it regulates you. Your counting is going to be regulated because you have beats with 108 beats. So that makes you regulated, and then you can do some prescribed rounds, so 2 rounds or 3 rounds, whatever. It's easy to maintain that consistency. But in case if you don't have at this point in time, it's all right. There is an app also to chant. Chanting Japa online on Samsung, not Samsung, sorry. Google Play has. And, there are apps also. If somebody misses their beats, or if they're traveling in a bus, where it may not be convenient for them to open the beats and chant on the beats, they can use their mobile phone, and slowly without with a whispering sound, they can chant the whole night. That's what people do.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
It's not
Prabhuji,
necessity.
Prabhuji, I have a question. Uh, why should the beads be kept in a bag? Like, is it really required, or can we like chant the by without keeping the beads in the bag also? Bead bags.
Right. So why we keep the beads in the bag? The primary reason is cleanliness. Because when we don't have a good place for the beads, naturally we drop it to the floor, keep it on the kitchen table. Uh, you know, it often finds its place somewhere hanging, and it may touch the leg, or. So to keep it sacred and clean, we use the bead bag. Making sense? It's as simple as
Yeah.
that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I had another question, Prabhuji,
Yes, Saravaji.
about chanting. So when we are chanting, we have to hold the beads like the string in our index finger, right? We have to rotate it from our index finger
Right.
and use the thumb to rotate it.
Actually, we should not use index finger. Let me show you how I hold. Right?
No, not index finger, ring finger. Sorry.
Finger, sorry, yeah, ring finger. So all of you just do this. So this is beads, right? You should not use index finger to chant like this. Index finger to chant. Sorry, I never told about this. You should use your ring finger like this.
Okay. Yeah, ring finger and chant it, and it has to be at the level of your heart, right?
Yeah, ideally, but that's not mandatory. Yeah, like this you keep moving one. Move to the next. So like that you chant 108 times, 108 mantras. So this is you should use a ring finger. Very important. Yeah? Ring finger. The reason we
Thank you.
use index finger is generally index finger is used for pointing out at people, and that's not ideal finger to use the hand, because we always try to find fault with the finger. So we don't use that. Anything else?
I think Prabhu, you explained about when you chant, once you finish 108, then you have to go back again, right? So maybe you can just rephrase that again.
Oh, wow. So when we chant, say we start with the head bead. Head bead is this bead. It has this extra, this thing, and then you chant your first mantra with the bigger bead. You start with that. That's how you chant the first round. You do like this, right? You go till the end. Means you come here like this, right? You chant the last mantra on the smallest bead. So the bead starts with the biggest and ends with the small. And you don't go over the head bead to chant the next round like this. Don't start with the head with the bigger bead again. You just turn around and chant on the smaller bead starting in the reverse direction. The reason is this is called Krishna bead, the head bead. This Krishna bead, we don't, we don't override it to go to the other side to chant the second round. We turn back and go on the smaller bead and finish towards the bigger bead again. And again turn around. If you are chanting more rounds, that's how you should be doing. You should not jump over Krishna beat to chant the next round.
Yeah, but Prabhuji, what if you have been doing it like that? Like, I think I've always I didn't know about this, so I've crossed over and go and just continue.
Oh, I should have informed this before. Yeah.
But I think I've been, saying the mantra before we chant, so maybe it is okay. It's
Yeah.
enough.
So Prabhu, also give a background on why that came, like why one should be not doing that.
Yeah. Basically, the principle is that we don't override the authority. The Krishna bead is the head bead, and we don't run over that authority. We always go back, and that's how I understand. You want to add anything, Prabhu? Nitin Prabhu?
No, Prabhu. I think also I learned that this is also Guru, because you take a diksha from Guru, so you follow, and it represents a Guru as well. So you don't want to cross the Guru, so you just go back and follow again.
Yeah, Guru. Yeah, that's what it means.
Yes.
So that's
Wonderful.
following the authority.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we'll end the class here. It's almost 6:40.
Great, Prabhu. Thank you very much for your practical tips, Prabhu. Very well.
Okay.
Thanks, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thanks,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thanks, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Very good.